Hello and welcome to something entirely new. Today we are going to take a look at Royal's video on the Master Tier. Watch this. In recent events, some people have talked very interesting things about this video, as in they're angry, they just preach other things, etc., but their takes are absolutely delusional. It's quite often that people are kind of disillusioned when it comes to their own skill level. For example, in League of Legends, you have to have dealt with fraudulent coaches ever since and even to this day. In WildRift, it's even worse because there's no requirements for you to become a coach. You can be a tier 1 coach being Emerald, if even. Don't get me wrong, you don't need to be very good in the game as you play it to be a good coach. However, in a game as easy as WildRift, if you're incapable of climbing to Challenger or Legend, even if you can't make it to Challenger because of time, which is reasonable because of inflation, Legend is still a valid thing. And if you cannot achieve this, then I'm sorry, you are a fraud. And you should not make those comments about other people's content, because what is your take even? Please bring forward a proper argument, bring forth math, bring forth everything you have, and then make a good discussion. Why are you wasting your time shooting your stupid takes out into the world, having no clue? Anyways, let's watch Royal and what he says.
Hey YouTube, I'm Royal. I'm a multi-season challenger and legend player, even peaking at rank 1. So I know a lot about climbing in Wild Rift. With the new season about to start, I decided to expose all my secrets and give you the knowledge you need to climb to high elo. In this
Okay, let's just cut it very short. The secret to climbing to high elo as of right now is just playing a lot. You don't have to have anything going for you. No mechanics, no knowledge, nothing. Just playing a lot and you'll be master tier very easily. However, if you want to save time, we'll continue watching this now because maybe he'll say something you have never have heard before.
beginner-friendly video, I will be giving you a guide to climb out of low elo and get you to at least master tier. If you're currently under master tier and want to improve and climb quickly, this video is going to be extremely useful, so please watch until the end. By following the simple guide, I'm sure anyone can get master tier. Let's start off with the biggest mistake I see low elo players make, and that's not knowing how to play their role and their champion. In my unranked challenger series, I constantly come across players that don't know the basic mechanics of their champions, and they don't know how to play their role, and invent their own troll builds. So here's what you need to know about which role to play, which champion to play, and how to build them. First of all, pick a role that you enjoy to play and stick to it. If you get filled to another role, that's fine, but only queue up for one role, always. You need to master one role before you move on to the others. It's way easier than trying to master multiple roles at once. Now, pick one champion on that role. With the exact same logic, it's a lot easier to master one champion than move on to other champions. If you try to master all of them at the same time, you won't improve on any of them. But Royal, I get bored only playing one champion.
Okay, let's take a quick break here. He is very much correct. If you play the game, you want to have it simple. When you choose a role, you want to choose the most simplistic champion within that role, which has the highest impact possible. For example, if you're a newbie in the Baron lane, Garen is a crazy good champion. Why? Garen is very simple in how he's being played. There's not much you have to know about this champion about one mechanic, and that's his second ability. Using it to mitigate damage in an all-in situation, knowing what the enemy champion can do, will be the make or break factor in your game. Now, the more you learn on your one champion, like the simplistic champion, the more free resources in your head are available to think about other things. If you play different roles which all follow different tempo, different other things which are way more complex, which we don't need to talk about right now because it doesn't serve a purpose, will just overwhelm you. And the next thing he is going to talk about, it is that he's getting basically told that it's boring. Well, did you know that perfecting something is quote-unquote boring because you repeat the same thing over and over again to be amazingly good at it? To then translate everything you have learned to other things? Because everything you learn on one champion isn't just wasted on one champion. It goes to all other champions you play, because you can translate the knowledge you've gained onto other champions.
Listen, I'm trying to teach you how to climb Milo. And practicing isn't always fun. Getting better at anything, including Wild Rift, requires discipline. So pick one champion and stick to them until you have fully mastered them, and then you can play other champions. I recommend playing a champion that you enjoy, since you will be more motivated to master them. However, if you pick a hard champion like Yasuo, you will take longer to master them, so you will improve and climb a lot slower. I will recommend to you 3 champions for each role that you can main, that will help you climb the fastest. These champions aren't necessarily easy to play, but mastering them will teach you a lot about the game's fundamentals, which will quickly improve your skill level. In the solo lane, my recommendations are Garen, Malphite, and Wukong. In the jungle,
Let's take a look at this. Okay, at the very top we have Baron, then we have jungle, then we have mid, then AD carry, and then support. From my perspective, the Baron line is super simple. Super easy champions, high impact, as I mentioned earlier. Garen, great champion. Wukong, also great champion. Jungle role. Xin Zhao, good champion. Wukong, decent champion. It's all very beginner friendly. Amumu as well. Teamfight champions. Now we go over to the next champions for the mid lane. Yet again, we have mages here. Well, you can count Diana as an assassin, by the way. I honestly think Orianna is too complex for most people to play. Annie is very simple, you just proto-belt, flash ult, and somebody is dead. Diana, you are very overstat, very tanky, and you just go in, it's okay. However, Orianna, I think, a little bit too complex. You should go easier here. And for the AD carry role, I agree with Mythfortune, and with Tristana, and for Ashe as well, for the following reasons. Even as you see that most of these champions are not in the very highest tier possible in tier lists, they're very simple. Ashe will always have value in the sense of having ultimate. Even if you're the most mechanical goober on the planet, it doesn't really matter because you still have actual utility for your team. Misfortune has a terrible, horrifying laning phase for other people. Her first ability is a menace to deal with, and Krakenslayer is broken as hell, especially in combination with Brutal. So please don't be running Conqueror, it's just a waste. However, with the next part, I have kind of issues. On the support role, I believe you should never pick champions that are literally AFK. You should play champions that promote playing the game. Champions such as Sona will only teach you bad habits, and life will be terrible. This champion isn't really a champion, it doesn't do anything. However, what it does for you is it's basically deluding you into thinking that you're right. Many champions or many people in lower elo will not punish you at all for what you're doing. With that happening, Sona gets to scale and go through laning phase, which in reality, I can't speak. She should get killed constantly, because she's not a champion, she can't do anything. And anyone who says anything else in realistic elo levels has no clue. I don't care if your favorite content creator with thousands upon thousands upon thousands of games trying to hit challenges says something else. I play this game professionally, I've played this game professionally ever since, and I don't need 1,000 games to hit this, I need a few hundred, if anything. So if I tell you that Sona is useless, and you shouldn't pick Sona, don't pick Sona. But from this perspective, but in this instance here, it's very dangerous to suggest Sona to new players, from my perspective.
Xin Zhao, and Orianna. Nautilus, Bronze are my recommendations. Now, let's talk about builds. Or even better, let's not talk about builds. Stop thinking about builds. You're not at a skill level that builds matter. Stop wasting your mental energy and thinking about builds. For 90% of champions, the recommended is good enough. If you're having doubts about your build, go to its steward's website, WildRift Fire, and build those recommended items.
Okay, let's quickly look at this. Builds rarely matter, and here's the explanation why. As long as you're thematically on a theme with your champion, say you're an AD carry, you build AD items. You are an AP champion, you build AP items, and you're a support champion, so you build supportive items. That's good enough. You are already better than most of the WildRift player base. Now let's get more into detail. Items such as Collector. Useless. Why do you build them? Because they feel good. They make you feel better. Why do you build them again? Oh, well, the Chinese players also built them. But these items don't help you. They don't let you snowball because the damage buff is a joke. They don't grant you any survivability, they grant you nothing. They're basically just a meme. So why do items not matter? Because they really don't. Most of the time, you don't lose or win games because of your items. the least games are won by these. It's more about positioning on the map, choosing where to be at what time, and not trolling for useless objectives. In solo queue, a dragon will not win you a game. In solo queue, even free dragons will not guarantee you a victory, because people are terrible. It sucks to hear, I know, but people are goddamn awful at what to do in this game. They don't know where to be at any point of the game and then just die. And then even dragons won't help you, items won't help you, nothing will help you. So please, rather than over-focusing on items, take it slowly, learn about the fundamentals of the game first, build on theme utilizing either the in-game suggested items or Stewart's WildRift fire. It doesn't matter, it will be good enough. It's not about being top 0.01%. That's unrealistic. Go slow, and then as you climb, learn more.
Almost always, when I see low elo players deviate from the recommended, their builds become significantly worse. Do not fall for the clickbait titles about some SSS+++ tier build. There is no secret build that the best players use to climb. Builds are just a small aspect of the game. You need to focus on other concepts first. Are there situations that you could build an item that would have more value than the recommended? Yes. But there's other areas of the game that will give you way more value to improve on first, which is what we're gonna talk about now.
So before we hop over to that one, let's talk about what he mentioned beforehand. For example, when you play support. I can give you a written rundown on how to play support perfectly to win against every single challenger support on the ladder, apart from maybe a few people that have been playing pro before. Because it's very simple. From my perspective, laning is very much linked to HP. Having an HP advantage via items, for example Relic Shield, is vastly superior to having slightly more damage, because having more life allows you to deal more damage over time. Relic Shield also has more health and lets you regen up health by killing minions, plus getting wave control. Sickle doesn't make you do that in any case. Therefore, Sickle will always lose against Relic. The only thing that can maybe change this is a champion being so terrible that you can't do anything regardless. For example, Sona. Now, but if you have no clue how to use Relic, then Relic will turn into a useless piece of dirt. Because the Sickle grants you more AP as the game goes on, and obviously in the mid to late game, the AP or AD gain from the item will probably be more helpful. Because if you're unable to utilize HP in the early game, you probably have no clue how to use it in the mid and late game. However, HP in the early game is the most broken stat possible. Yet nobody knows how to utilize this because they have no clue about positioning, trading patterns, wave control, tempo, and everything of the other things. In this very instance again, items are completely worthless because nobody knows how to use them. And therefore, Royal is completely right.
Until you reach Master, stick to the cookie cutter basic builds. Now that you have picked a role and a champion, you need to learn to properly use your champion. Here's the 5 main fundamental concepts you need to focus on to reach high elo. Number 1. Understand your champion's goals and power spikes. For example, Malphite gets his power spike when he has ultimate. His goal is to group up and engage with his ultimate. Xin Zhao has a very strong early game. He wants to be aggressive, gank early, and duel the enemy jungler. Sona is weak in the early game, so you want to play safe and scale to the late game. Learn your champion's strengths and play for them. Number 2. Learn basic wave management. I have a video on wave management and macro videos for a few roles that you can check out on my channel. Number 3. If you're a solo laner, mid laner, or ADC, learn to last hit minions and farm resources as much as you can. If you're a jungler, learn to farm your jungle efficiently. If you're a support, learn when you should roam and help your team. Maximize your time and always do something of value, whether that is collecting resources or helping your team. Stop standing around and wasting time. Number 4. Learn to trade. Learn your champion's basic combos and practice trading in every matchup. Think about what damage you need to avoid and what damage you need to deal. Also, practice your spacing. If you have a long-range champion, maximize your range to avoid damage. If you're a short-range champion, try to get near enemies as quickly as possible and avoid getting kited. Number 5. Learn how to teamfight. Learn about your champion's role in a fight and how to approach teamfights. Like I mentioned before, Malphite's job is to engage the fight with his ultimate. Sona's job is to heal and provide utility, so you need to position somewhere safer. To fully master these concepts on your champion, you will need at least 200 games, but probably more. In addition to playing and practicing these fundamentals, you should watch good players play your champion. There's many great WildRift content creators out there, but here's some recommendations of really good active players that you should watch to see them perform these fundamentals. I couldn't really find any good solo lane streamer or YouTuber, but for the jungle you can watch Vex or Lebmont. In mid lane, starting all over. In ADC, WoW Gume or Kranix, and for support, Broken Support. The last tip I will give you is to learn from your mistakes. That's the only way to improve. Don't keep making the same mistakes again and again. Try your best to use critical thinking and analyze after every game. Why did you lose? What did you do bad? What were the key moments of the game? Think about your deaths. Did you overextend? Did you overstay? Did you not respect the enemy jungler? Were you surprised by a champion's damage? And always self-reflect without casting blame on your teammates. Just focus on what you could have done better.
Okay, let's take a quick break again and let's talk about the 5 tips he gave earlier. As you play a champion, as he said, every champion has a relative power spike, but we can make it even more detailed. He looked at the more teamfight-oriented power spike, when a champion is fundamentally functional. The Malphite in this instance would be fundamentally functional for a teamfight on level 5. However, the game starts before that in the laning phase. The Malphite's laning phase can consist of his auto-attack into W reset to deal more damage in a quick trade, using his first ability to poke, especially if he notices that the enemy doesn't run second wind, spotting enemy runes, seeing what they have, items, just everything in general. You want to see every bit of information and use it to your advantage, because it really is an advantage. Let's say you play support. Let's say you see that the enemy support champion is using a sickle. Now let's see that the enemy support champion isn't running bone plating. What does this mean for you? Since you're a relic abuser and maybe even an aggressive champion, you can probably fight them. You deal a lot of damage to them as they lack the bone plating, and you can just walk over them. Now let's flip this around. Let's say you're into a hook champion. The hook champion is an Autolus or a Thresh, but you run bone plating and have relic shield. The bone plating will protect you from an all-in, which means if it's available, not on cooldown, you can get hooked and bait the enemy into a fight to then kill them. Because most of the time, people don't know the relative power of having bone plating and relic shield in combination, because of 100 health from the item and about 100 bonus health from the bone plating on level 1, it's a little bit less, make you very tanky. And then you can enforce different trading patterns to then utilize the healing of the relic shield to put the enemy in a very bad position, then use the HP advantage, which you've played for, to establish a very aggressive position during the laning phase, and then choke the enemy out of XP, slow push the wave with the new wave management you have into the enemy tower, and then you can control the crash of the wave, which is getting it into the enemy tower, with the relic shield stack, and accelerate a dive or a reset. All of this matters. And there's something I talked to him about briefly. It's the anti-healing conundrum. So all of you know Soraka. The moment you pick Soraka, 5 people on the enemy team will buy anti-healing. Now I'll tell you why this is terrible. Many champions cannot apply anti-healing consistently. Soraka also doesn't really care if you put anti-healing on a person, because she doesn't have to heal them at that given time unless it's an all-in. Now, let's imagine 2 people, as in the support and the AD carry, both build anti-healing before the very first objective. That's 800 gold down the drain. 800 gold, which you will not get back unless you get ridiculously fed before your first objective. Which means that the enemy champions will have their first item spike on the first objective and you will not. But you're countering Soraka's healing. That's great for you, however you will not be able to get anyone killed anyway because you deal substantially less damage. And again, Soraka is not forced, unless it's an all-in, to use healing to heal her allies. That's a common misconception, and it's just not good enough. You need to communicate with your teammates on who wants to buy the anti-healing, and then have the person that's basically able to apply most instances, the easiest to most people, pick it up. An AD carry should never, and I say never, be forced to pick up anti-healing, because AD carry spikes are very delicate and they need the most damage possible with how broken their role is. You don't want to have them waste 800 gold on an item that doesn't provide them any crit or good anything, to then just sit on it to deal more damage to the enemy in a sense of they heal less. It's just a complete waste of time and gold. Just don't do it.
You don't need to review every replay, but just be aware of the mistakes you're making and figure out how to improve them. I offer coaching where we VOD review games together, and I can point out clearly your mistakes and what you could have done differently, while also teaching you in detail how to improve on what you did wrong and create good long-term habits. I have an example coaching session posted on my YouTube, so you can check that out and see how you can analyze your games. Just make sure you aren't over-analyzing and getting lost in the details. Your goal is how to improve on the fundamentals I listed above.
And before anyone bashes coaching here, I promise you, whoever, regardless of the elo the person is in, regardless of the rank they're in, regardless of their win rate, I can find plenty of mistakes from the start to finish in everyone's gameplay, and everyone could still improve. So there is no realistic reason for you to flame your allies, because you just play so worse in comparison. There can be so much to be learned, and it can be so much easier for you if you just understand that you are the problem, since you are the only person that's always in your games. Yes, you'll have people running you down. Yes, you'll have people that will make it very difficult. You'll have flamers, you'll have griefers, etc, etc. But most of the people, and by most I say 99.9% of the people, don't suffer from bad matchmaking. For example, Random, who is the rank 1 on the leaderboard, suffers from bad matchmaking due to its stats. I oftentimes suffer from awful matchmaking due to my stats, as the matchmaking is stat-based. And most of the people don't have the stats to back that one up, and it's very curious or very interesting to see that most people have very interesting stats in the sense they don't do anything, yet win so much. Ask yourself why that is. Mostly not because of you.
Hopefully this video has given you a solid framework and plan on how to improve and how to reach higher elos. If you want me to dive deeper into the fundamentals that I talked about before and make videos on them, comment below. If you enjoyed this video, click the like button so I know, and subscribe for more WildRift content. Also, how sick is this echo gameplay in the background? It's on my Unranked to Challenger account, but sadly I didn't record it, so I decided to record the replay and use it as the background gameplay for this video.
What a plug, I love it. Anyway, this video alone gave you more of an idea about how to play the game than all of the other quote-unquote clickbait YouTubers do. Obviously you can't blame them because educational content doesn't perform well. Nobody really wants to know how to play. People want to be told, this is the build, this is everything, you're not at fault, just go, 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 go. People don't want to learn. And yes, you can comment in the comment section that you want to learn, but the issue is, you are not the majority, and if 1 out of 100 people wants to learn, it just isn't enough for a YouTuber, because you need to understand that they want to make a living, or at least some good money on the side, and just see that their videos perform well. Imagine you put your heart into a video, do like a 10-hour edit, and then it performs as a react video of another streamer. Like, he just sits there, presses record, plays a game, ends the recording, uploads. That's not effort, it's just spending a little bit of time. And don't let yourself get fooled when it comes to that, because it's truly not effort. Anyway, from my opinion, I really like this video. It's very short, giving you the information you need. Obviously, you can fill in the blanks with so many more things, but it's just a general idea. And yet again, if you want coaching, you should contact him. And if you want coaching from me, you can contact me. Similar to him, I have been rank 1. Similar to him, I've been a professional player, well, coach, and yeah, basically challenger every season. If you want anything, let me know, comment it down in the comment section below, and if you want more of this type of content, I can react to other people, just giving a broader perspective on my take on what they're thinking, and then we see each other in the next video. See ya.